know what you guys think. I
You
know
do a
that
poll.
in my heart, I would rather a cat die by being beaten to death with a bar of soap. The 12 gauge mag-
It's
Magnum shell is just
too
too
kind,
easy.
too easy
Too easy.
for a cat.
For a cat. Yeah, for a cat. No, you got to treat a dog with some respect. But
Yeah.
cats, no way, man. And YouTube already probably flagged us for animal cruelty.
Oh, yeah.
That's why this episode will get taken down. Isn't that right, YouTube?
Yeah, that's right. YouTubes.
Yeah, the YouTubes. Welcome to the show, guys. I'm Mike. This is Dave. If you don't know, I'm sure that if you are watching this, you probably do already. So we're glad to hang out with you for a little bit and do our show off the cuff.
Yeah.
And it is off the cuff. And it is just us giving our take on the happenings in our lives and around the world. So how's that? How's
Look
that
at
for an
this.
intro?
It's a good one. Look at that huge fan from Nashville, Tennessee,
Hey,
which is where I'm actually going in September.
why?
That late
What-
September.
Why Nashville?
Because I'm going. My buddy lives in Nashville,
Mm-hmm.
and so we're going to go visit him and his lady, and then another good friend of mine. Well, they're two good friends. Another couple are going to be going there as well, and then we'll hit the strip, if you will, for one night, and then we're gonna go to Pigeon Forge for a few nights after that. So it should be nice.
Bring it back.
I love Tennessee.
Tennessee memories.
Love
Tennessee memories. That's another. That's the original title of Tennessee whiskey.
That's right.
Tennessee memories. Yeah,
I remember when you wrote that.
I did. Many people think Chris Stapleton wrote it. He didn't. That was a remake.
Yes.
I'm the original writer. Many people have performed the song, but I wrote it. I actually live off of the royalties of that song. This is how this podcast is made available to you for free.
Yeah, dude.
I'm able
I
to
don't know how you
live
pull
so
it off.
generously after writing the songs.
Have you ever heard the original version of that song? It is just I'm going to sound like this guy, but it's just garbage compared to his version. Have you ever listened to the actual original? It's not good.
Chris Stapleton's got it on lockdown.
He kills that. Yeah, for sure.
That's the deal.
He's got a new one out called, what is it called? White Horse. I'm not a big fan of it. So he's really yelly. A little too yelly.
I don't typically listen to country music or country-esque music these days, but
no,
I do put on Chris Stapleton radio sometimes on Spotify if I'm just chilling out, sipping whiskey, sipping bourbon.
You know who'd be really upset about that? Buck Chase. If Buck Chase were here right now,
if Buck Chase were here, he would not. Yeah, he would feel like Chris Stapleton. Well, I know Buck. Okay,
you do,
and I know that Buck would not be happy in general. He would feel like Stapleton's a little bit of a sellout.
Yes,
in terms of
exactly.
He's too much swimming in the modern stream. However, once Chris Stapleton sang the national anthem, Buck, in all fairness, did give him his due. He said,
he did.
All right, that man earned my
his words. Give him his due.
Give him his due. He's earned, that man has earned my respect. So, Chris Stapleton for the win.
I'm gonna give him his due, and I ain't talking about Mountain Dew either.
That's right.
That's how he said it too. I remember that
clearly. There's been a lot going on this last week. If you listen to the show last week about dead people on planes, which I actually don't even remember the serious topic we talked about last week at all.
I know.
I could not tell you if my life, someone could be like, I am holding your family hostage. The only way to make them free again, the only way I will release them is for you to tell me what the topic of the podcast was last week. And all I can think about is Joyce's dead people on plane story.
It's insane.
And I got nothing else.
I know. It did. It actually yes, it's consumed. I'm pretty sure it's consumed a lot of our minds for the majority of the week.
Yes.
I know it did, Joyce, because she had to actually fly home. So, and let me tell you this. So I spent about close to 4 hours, 2 phone calls. Well, one was like the messaging with Delta, and then the other one was with actually on the phone. So between the two, almost 4 hours, and they refused to give her an upgrade, a complimentary upgrade
of any
They
kind.
refused.
Did they
None.
even
Zero.
did you end up finding out, did they offer to anyone on the plane, did they offer like complimentary snacks or
No.
anything like the rest of the
Nothing.
flight? Nothing. And they
Absolutely
they didn't
nothing.
even offer up, say, you know what, we can't
No.
upgrade her seat, but what we could do is
Nope.
we could do this.
Nope, nothing. A matter of fact, the last person I actually talked to, she actually seemed like she really was kind of like, I'll say championing for me, because
Sure.
they have to wait for like a supervisor to go above that, you know.
Mhm.
And so we were waiting for a while, and she asked the supervisor, and the supervisor was like, "No, because the difference between Comfort Plus and Delta One is too much." I'm like, what? So really, I mean, they cared zero, zero, and I probably won't ever get the money for that EpiPen back either. So fuck you, Delta. Fuck you real good.
Did you happen to ask about that? Would you reimburse me for the use of the EpiPen or anything
Yeah,
like
they
that?
said that I would have to go like fill out some kind of paperwork and request for it. I'm like, really? Like, this is where we're at. Like, I can't. Where does that even come? It's hard enough
Did
finding a
Joyce
phone number
tell
for
them that
customer
they needed to
service.
submit an application or paperwork for her to use the EpiPen? No.
No,
Boy,
no, they
that's
did
annoying.
not. Yeah. It's just
Man.
ridiculous. And where are you supposed to find this paperwork, right? I couldn't even find a real phone number for customer service.
Oh,
How
they
am I
try to.
supposed
Oh,
to
they play defense, baby.
everything they
Oh,
can?
they layer that. They layer
Absolutely.
that thing.
Yeah.
That's you want to talk to somebody at Delta, or you want to talk. And let's just be honest. Anywhere for any customer service, you better be Luke Skywalker and have the Force and be guided in
Yep.
to drop those laser
Yep.
torpedoes into customer service to get
Yeah.
in contact with it, because they cover that thing like. The only weakness
They
is
do.
it's one small port.
and on top of that, replace R2D2 with Yoda in the back of that thing, because that is the only way, using double force, you're going to find that little crevice to get that little phaser bomb in there. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it was not happening. And no,
frustrating.
they did
huh?
not. They did not offer to replace her EpiPen either. So nothing yet. But you know, I'm really hoping for big things here out of Delta. I'm pretty sure they'll come after listening to this podcast. They're
Yes.
probably going to come to their senses pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was just looking at our stats in Apple Podcasts, and it did say that Delta employees were a very large segment of our audience.
I figured, yeah,
17%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about just one company.
Yeah, and when you're talking about 3.2 million listeners a week, that can total up, you know.
Yeah. Yes. That's a good number of people.
It
It's
is.
actually 17% of our listeners, but 78% of Delta's workforce.
Interesting little factoid.
I don't want to bore you with the details, but yeah, that's why we have a full-time research department. We need to know these things. It helps us sharpen our approach to the podcast. So one thing that did come out of last week's episode is you said that Joyce had to then take the train to Busan, which had another medical incident on it.
Yeah, it did.
So we watched Train to Busan.
Yeah.
And holy cow, it's the best zombie movie I've ever seen.
Great, right?
Better than World War Z, better than, I don't know what other great zombie movies I've seen now that I think about it. Like, not a ton of zombie movies, but then you think about The Walking Dead or whatever else. Like, this was really, really good.
Yeah, they did a great job with it, didn't they?
Yeah, I would 100% watch it again.
Yeah,
it was so good. So yeah, Train to Busan. If you guys haven't seen it, well, now you know.
Yeah,
I know it's not enough for Dave to like it and say that you should watch it.
It's true.
Now you've got double confirmation, confirmation to watch Train to Busan.
Yeah. Did Joyce send you the picture?
The little zombie thing dancing in the middle. Yes.
Because that's actually the train that she was on to Busan. And
Yeah.
it looks like the movie.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
looks
just
exactly
ridiculous.
like it. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Spooky. Yeah, it would be weird to be on that train and be like, oh my gosh, I do feel like a zombie's gonna pop out into my car. And it was a really cool movie.
Yeah, the Koreans are doing it right, man. They've been doing
Yeah.
a lot of like they said. I've seen some other kind of apocalyptic zombie movies that the Koreans have done, and they've been great. Every single one of them. So of course, my wife watches the K-dramas, which is like a whole different league of drama type stuff, series and stuff.
Yeah, I'll have to see if is there any good manly versions of K-dramas, like
No, I
K-shows?
don't think so. No, I don't
Dang.
think so. But you would be mildly entertained by it. But I've never watched any of them. Like I'll
Nah.
catch like a part of an episode.
I feel like it would be like Below Deck, only in Korean. That's what I feel like it would be like.
No, actually, they do a really good job with the production. I'm just not into those kind of shows. But like, I think that a big part of the population here in the U.S. would love K-dramas. It's just I don't like that genre.
Yeah,
I'm not a rom-com kind of series like that kind of guy like that. But I mean, everyone loves a good rom-com. But
Yes, I did watch an interesting rom-com, but it had a weird part to it. I'll explain in a second. But I do want to address Joyce is saying, like, watch it in Korean with English subtitles.
Yes,
100%, guys. Yeah. Pro tip: that's an example of a movie. Then you have like another one that came out recently was All Quiet on the Western Front. It's in German. You can't do English dubbing. Never, 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 because you're missing the tone, the way that the actor pours themselves. Yeah, you're missing so much when you do dubbed English. Absolutely not. Read the subtitles, but listen to the actual like actors.
Yeah. Well, we made that mistake with Squid Games. So it wasn't until the very last episode that we decided to watch it.
Totally different experience.
Dude, it's 100 times better. And I liked it the way it was with the English dubs, but in the end, it's just way better to watch a foreign movie in the language that it's actually spoken, because like you said, the acting and everything, like the feel of it is so much better, and subtitles are just not a thing anymore. I find myself having to put subtitles on because my hearing is so garbage.
I put them on all English shows. I've got the subtitles rolling. I am in my full middle-aged and beyond glory there for sure.
Look at Joyce says that they have super manly K-drama.
No, they don't.
Oh, come
Stop
on,
it,
Joyce, knock it off. Knock it right off.
You go down there and you tell her what's what.
Yeah. And I know they're not necessarily rom-coms. They're like I don't know. It's kind of it's not dude stuff, So
all right. So the movie that I watched on vacation had definitely funny moments, but had a really creepy aspect to it, was Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell and Ryan Gosling.
How'd you like that? I think I liked it. But
it made me laugh, right? So it was funny, but there was this really awkward thing with a younger girl having a crush on Steve Carell, like a teenage girl having a crush on him. Now, it wasn't reciprocated or whatever else. But the kid had a crush on the baby. So Steve Carell's son, spoiler alerts, Steve Carell's son in the movie is like 13 or something like that. And he has a crush on the babysitter who's like 16, right? The 16-year-old babysitter or whatever she is has a crush on Steve Carell.
Oh,
now Steve Carell doesn't know about this crush or, whatever. It's not reciprocated. But then so this girl takes photos, let's say that, and you don't see anything like that, but to send in a card in an envelope to Steve Carell's character, who's a middle-aged dude.
Yeah.
Then her parents find it and they go to fight it, and this whole thing ensues. But at the end of the movie, the girl gives the son that has the crush on her the photos.
Oh, okay.
And I'm just like,
Yeah, that's
that's
a felony.
yeah, like that's not right, is it?
No,
It made me just feel so weird to
that
have like,
is weird.
I'm like, ooh, so here's now like this graduating girl giving a junior high kid nude photo.
Nude pictures. Yeah, that's
I'm
weird.
like, that's anyway.
Yeah.
But I watched Crazy Stupid Love. That's the last rom-com I watched, but
Well, look, Mike says American Beauty Part 2. I was just going to bring up American Beauty. That had a kind of a weird.
I've never seen it.
Oh my gosh, it was the same type of thing.
Yeah, but that had Kevin Spacey in it, right? That dude's a freaking
Yeah.
creep anyway in real
Yeah.
life. Ugh.
But you know what? The two movies I saw, Joyce says, Dave, you're dead to me.
Why?
You know what? I feel like she just can't handle the truth. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she's like Colonel Jessup. You know. So the two movies I watched was Lost in Translation with Bill Murray and
That's a pretty
Scarlett
decent
Johansson.
movie.
It was.
I feel like I remember it being that way. It's been a long time since I've seen it.
Yeah, I liked it. I actually liked it quite a bit. It was very different. Really kind of a naturally flowing type movie. And the other one, is I got to clear my throat, was The Deer Hunter. When's the last time you saw The Deer Hunter? Have you ever seen it?
I don't think so.
With Robert De Niro and Christopher Walken and yeah, dude, it's was it 70? I think it may have actually been written or in 78 or something.
Mm-hmm.
So it's about it's a classic. If you saw it, you would probably really appreciate it. But I wish you had seen it, because then we could kind of like bounce off this, because it's a different movie. So I would compare movies like that to something like Apocalypse Now, written around the same time. You know what I mean? But it is it's very chaotic. The movie itself is very chaotic. So the plot is a town in Pennsylvania that is like a steel town.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, like, we are talking like the stamping, the where they actually create steel.
Yeah.
And so three of them are going to Vietnam, and it's very late Vietnam. It's not like early or mid. So it's kind of a cool
8.1 on IMDb. That's probably pretty good.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, it's a different spin than most Vietnam movies, in the fact that a lot of Vietnam movies are like like in the 60s and stuff like that. This is like at the tail end of Vietnam. And these three, they're friends, you know, and they go in at the same time. It's kind of how their three different journeys and how that leads them, how the war affects not just these three, but the town, their family, their other friends. And it's a very chaotic movie, because more than so it's a 3-hour movie, and half of it is about kind of like you understanding how these guys live.
Mm-hmm.
They're very like alpha, very like, you know, drinking and driving and like the total 70s shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Shitty cars, horrible like living conditions. And these guys go to Vietnam. I want you to see it. I don't want to talk too much about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it. I have
it's a classic.
Flight. I have a flight on Sunday, so maybe I'll queue that bad boy up and watch it on the plane.
Yes.
I like it.
It's good. You're gonna dig it, man. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I agree. The songs are amazing. Like, there actually is like a really cool, we'll say, soundtrack, if you will. God, it's really good. Like I said, though, it's very chaotic, and it's hard to like. I can't describe it. There's like this elevated noise level. There's always something chaotic happening.
Huh.
You know, I mean, even like there's a wedding, And the wedding is like a Polish Russian wedding, and it's loud, and people are drinking and dancing. Like every part of it has just got this level of chaotic to it. It's just really very different, really cool movie, and I want to talk more about it when you finally see it. So
Well, I will see it soon. There's no doubt
good.
about it.
Yeah.
All right, so I neglected to tell you guys the topic of tonight. We're gonna I'm bringing an article to the table, and it's not so much an article as I guess a breaking news story about a man that was exonerated after 47 years of being convicted. So of a crime he did not commit. It literally had nothing to do with. He wasn't just like kind of a pseudo part of it and got caught up in something.
Right.
No, he had nothing to do with it. And he is finally exonerated 47 years later. And that led to some we'll share the story, and we got some interesting questions. And then Dave has some stuff about people in the South just using crayons to just, redraw districts so that voting can be shifted. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see about that. And I cannot talk about anything else, though, until I tell you another plane story. I don't know. This may be worse than a dead body.
It probably is, Mike.
Delta flight returns after passenger has diarrhea all the way through plane. This is the title of the Guardian article. Passengers flying from Atlanta to Spain. It says footage has emerged, and I have a video of the carnage. Okay,
I don't even know how this is possible.
Footage has emerged of the quote onboard medical emergency that forced a U.S. airliner back to Atlanta only 2 hours into its flight to Spain. A messy trail of diarrhea left by a struggling passenger. Maintenance crews spent 5 hours cleaning the Delta Airlines Airbus A350 after its enforced early landing, including replacing an aisle carpet ruined in the incident. Spoiler alert, it was Air Force One.
Spoiler alert.
Come on, man.
Air Force One.
That's happened. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Passengers, reportedly including the one suffering diarrhea, were allowed to reboard after an 8. How would you feel about seeing that dude or lady coming back onto the plane with you to try to make this international flight again? They were allowed to reboard after an 8-hour delay, making it to Barcelona on Saturday afternoon with no further incident.
Come on.
Accounts from some onboard described flight crew doing their best to mop up the mess with paper towels and scented disinfectant.
Oh, God.
But that only had the effect of making the plane, quote, smell, as one passenger said, of vanilla shit.
Oh, gross, man.
Another described cabin crew placing an absorbent paper runner over the aisle and passengers having to climb over seats to avoid it as they left the plane.
Gross.
An audio recording of a conversation between the pilot and air traffic control revealed the reasons for the jet's sudden turnaround over Central Virginia.
Do you have the audio?
This is your captain speaking. It's just a biohazard issue.
That's what one pilot said.
We've got a passenger who had diarrhea all the way through our airplane, so they want us to come back to Atlanta.
Oh, God.
There is audio of that somewhere, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was.
That's more accurate. Yeah.
Yes. So here is the quick video.
Dude. It's so gross.
Oh, there it is. Oh,
God,
man.
It goes several aisles.
Oh, it goes. Yeah,
I was going to say it's
down
not
the
just
aisle.
Several.
Man.
It goes all the way. Like, how is that a thing, man? How? Oh, God.
So Delta blamed this and what they called a quote onboard medical issue, and our teams worked as quickly and safely as possible to get our customers to their final destination. We sincerely apologize to our customers for the delay and inconvenience to their travel plans. Now, this incident came a week after Air Canada apologized to 2 passengers who were booted from a flight from Seattle to Montreal because they complained about being made to sit in seats covered in vomit.
Gotta be fucking kidding me.
They're like, I can't sit here. There's puke on the seats. Well, you have to. This is your seat. Well, it's got vomit on it. Oh, they just kicked him off the plane. Thanks, Canada, freaking communists.
But see that in this is Delta though.
This was Delta. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Delta's gonna try to shut us down. You know that too.
I feel like Delta is the best of the worst. They're all bad. I think they're all bad customer service. Now, I'm flying American on the way. I'm going to Colorado Sunday to Tuesday. And I'm flying American on the way there because Delta doesn't fly where I'm going. So I could either fly Delta from here to Denver and then drive or figure it out. So I did the Travelocity thing, which I haven't done in years, but American on the way there and United on the way back. So I'm going to get to experience 2 different airlines and compare. I haven't flown anything but Delta in years. And that's not because I'm like a Delta fanboy. It's because almost always, because Detroit is a Delta hub,
Yeah.
it's got great schedule and pricing. And quite honestly, they're way more on time than a lot of other airlines historically.
Yeah.
So,
Dude, I still have a bad taste in my mouth from the whole Joyce thing.
oh, for sure.
Honestly, it's inexcusable. It really is. And then again, I'm going to flog this dead horse, I suppose, for the next 3 years if I could. But oh god, it's so ridiculous.
It is. It is.
Anyway.
All right. So let's see. Where is this? I'll pull up the present. Share my screen with you guys. Oh, maybe not. There we go. Let's see if this works. All right, you guys can see that, right?
Oh, yeah.
This is the Innocence Project. I'm not an expert on the Innocence Project, but I believe their thing is DNA or other exculpatory evidence being represented in appeals and various channels to try to get people they believe to be innocent, their convictions overturned, released from prison, whatever the deal is. I think that's what the Innocence Project is all about. Okay, so this is like as close to the source because the Innocence Project was the group advocating for Mr. Leonard Mack, and the title is "Hit in DNA Database Proves Leonard Mack's Innocence After 47 Years of Wrongful Conviction. Unreliable witness identification along with racial bias and tunnel vision led to Mr. Mack's wrongful conviction." All right, so there's Mr. Mack now, very happy, clearly that he's not a convicted rapist anymore.
Right.
September 5th, 2023, in White Plains, New York, Leonard Mack was exonerated today, nearly 5 decades after he was wrongfully convicted of rape and 2 counts of criminal possessions of a weapon in March of 1976. I was a month old when this happened to this guy. New DNA testing of crime scene evidence found in a post-conviction investigation by the Innocence Project and the Westchester County District Attorney's Conviction Review Unit. Wow, what's that abbreviation? Wadakaru. I'm over there with Wadakaru. We do the deep work. Okay, proved Mr. Mack did not commit the crime. Mr. Mack's wrongful conviction is the longest to be overturned based on new DNA evidence known to the Innocence Project. The DNA profile developed from the evidence was uploaded to the state and local database and yielded a hit. The actual assailant identified in the search has since confessed to the crime.
Wow. He's like fucking 70 years old now. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Now what?
Yeah.
This case contains virtually every common contributing factor in wrongful convictions. Eyewitness misidentification, the leading cause of wrongful convictions, played a central role. In addition to misleading forensic testimony presented by the state's forensic analyst at trial, racial bias, and tunnel vision. despite alibi witnesses and serological evidence from the victim's underwear that excluded Mr. Mack in 1976. That's crazy. So there were alibi witnesses and serological evidence, so body fluid evidence from the victim's underwear that excluded Mr. Mack. He spent 7.5 years in prison and then has since lived with the wrongful conviction as a convicted felon for the next, 40 years or whatever, 41 years. Today, indisputable DNA evidence proves that Leonard Mack is innocent. Nearly 5 decades later, he finally has some measure of justice. He said, "I first want to thank God for this day. Next, I want to thank the Innocence Project. Today has been a long time coming. I lost 7.5 years of my life in prison for a crime I did not commit, and I have lived with this injustice hanging over my head for almost 50 years. It changed the course of my life, everything from where I lived to my relationship with my family. I never lost hope that one day that I would be proved innocent. Now the truth has come to light, and I can finally breathe. I am finally free."
They're making it seem like he did 7.5 years or whatever, and then was that it? And then released as a felon, and he never didn't.
He never did more jail time.
Okay, so he was locked up for 7.5 years. Obviously, that's going to affect his life for forever. I thought he was locked up for fucking,
I assumed when I first saw the headline too that he had been locked up for this whole time, which in theory you would think if you did rape 2 teenage girls, which is what the charge was, they were on their way home from school and a black male approached them and attacked them. He was raping one and the other one escaped. You would think that somebody that did that needs a lot more than 7 years in prison.
Yeah, you would think so, especially in the 70s. But see, this is kind of my question about the Innocence Project, because I know that the Innocence Project has been out there. They do a lot of stuff, but man, they just seem so liberal in their ideology. Like they're talking about it's just almost hard to take sometimes. Obviously, like a guy like this, you want to make sure that if somebody is guilty, obviously great. If somebody's innocent, this is obviously where the Innocence Project is so beneficial. I mean, it's a godsend for these people. But I mean, how often do they just go, yeah, look, I can only take so many cases, and this one is clearly ridiculous? Or do they just go like, yes, you're innocent because you say you're innocent? Like, and the whole idea of the whole racial thing, I mean, was it not a black male? Did they, I mean, well, he's black, right?
That's
so how is it racial?
That's just it, right? Like, well, I mean, did a black man commit the crime? Right?
Yeah,
it's like,
I mean,
so was it racially motivated?
Motivated, or did a black dude
let me see.
I could understand now. So if say one of the victims misidentified the race of an individual, that still wouldn't make it racist.
Here's the recap. It says this was May 22nd, 1975. Police pulled over Mack in Greenburgh, New York. 2.5 hours after 2 teenage girls were stopped as they were walking home from school. One teen was violently raped. The other broke free and ran to a nearby school where a teacher called the police. The attack happened in a predominantly white neighborhood. Again, okay. The Greenburgh Police Department has put out a call for a black male suspect in his early 20s. Mack, who was black, obviously, was driving through the neighborhood at the time that the call came out. Now, this is 2 hours later.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Even though he was wearing different clothes than the suspect and had an alibi, he was brought to the police station. Okay, so a couple of things, and I don't want to get too copy on this, but the different clothes things, you would expect that. You would be,
for sure,
if you're a good cop and you know that you're sort of like on this manhunt or whatever, and you're looking at the clock and you're like, dude, it's been 2 hours. You're thinking, okay, did he swap outfits? He's going to be wearing a hat? Is he going to be wearing a wig? Is he going to be like, did he pull to a rest area and shave his head, or shave his beard? Or I would expect him to be in a different car than he would be.
Take his first 2 layers off.
Something. So I would expect him to look different.
Yeah.
But I think, Dave, as far as the racial aspect of this being, you couldn't have really said it any better, right? Like with the, how can they say it was his conviction was racially motivated
Right.
when the perpetrator of the crime was the race of the man convicted. Now, their mishandling of evidence or ignoring of evidence that would have exonerated him, and how that all, what I really tried to find, and I did, guys, I and if you guys can find it, like I was trying to look at the trial. I looked up, but I couldn't find anything substantial about, like, okay, well, what evidence did they present or did they not present? Because I don't want to dog on people that did their job and then got it wrong. But
Right.
I mean, they got it wrong nevertheless. So that's the Leonard Mack story. Good for him. I'm glad he's out. But the question that it led me to was, what does the state, if anything, owe to
Right.
this man?
Is there a compensation?
What would, and if it doesn't, which I don't think it does,
It won't.
if it doesn't, then what should it? What should we have in place as a check and balance, right? So we talk about the justice, excuse me, the justice system, and there are not, case laws, regular laws, and there is courtroom procedure that flows
Right.
from that, to have sort of like an internal checks and balance to a trial process.
Yeah.
So,
And the production of evidence, like being able to produce evidence, what the legality of each individual
yeah,
piece of evidence.
did he just have a bad representation? Is that why the evidence didn't make it in? Because a lawyer screwed up? These are the questions that I wish I knew the answer to. And if I was going to take a deep dive and present this case to you, of course I would try to do that. But
Right.
my question, really, when I saw this, it stood out to me. I was like, man, that's crazy. But what should we do for somebody like that? Should we as society do anything for people that lose the entire trajectory of his life has changed? 7.5 years taken straight away. But then, I mean, you lose certain things. He could never vote. He couldn't legally carry a firearm.
Yeah.
He
He wouldn't get jobs. They would look right over him.
Getting employment would be different. Where he could live would be different. Who would be in contact with him after this would be different. Everything changed throughout this
family
man's life.
or friends. Yeah, I mean, like, it would change everything, right? Your whole life is completely turned upside down. But I think that's why I think it's a pretty good system in place, meaning he has the right to sue civilly. You know what I mean? And that's generally what I think what people do. And I think I kind of like that idea more, because that it kind of leaves it up to the judicial system to also see if there's something coming back to him, without just having a flat line like, yes, we screwed up, here's your $100,000, because that's what it would be, right? I mean, we're talking about
Right.
a government entity. The
Yeah.
amount of compensation, we couldn't get compensated for $500 EpiPen or even a complimentary upgrade on an airplane flight. What do you think that the government is going to dish out as far as, hey, we screwed up? There's no like, not even a sliding scale for that. So I think I think suing is a pretty good way to do it. And he's going to win, hopefully win big, because that's just unbelievable. It's crazy that he kept fighting and never lost. Like, it's not like he wasn't locked up, right? Learning that he did 7.5 years, which had to been awful. I mean, I can't even imagine doing a year in prison or county. And yet, even after that, for 40 some years, he still maintained his innocence, so much to the fact that he actually pushed for this program to like listen to his pleas on it. That says a lot, man. Because I think the average person be like, dude, I've been kicked around so many fucking times. Why do I even get up anymore? This is not, you know what I mean? This happened to me. I was dealt shit luck. Screw this place, screw the world, screw everybody, and then you just take your lumps. And this guy just didn't do that. It's crazy to me.
Yeah, Michael Pratt asked, am I understanding correctly, you don't think this guy is entitled to any compensation after being wrongly convicted? No, I don't think that's what
No,
I won't put
I didn't
words
say
in
that.
Dave's mouth, but he didn't say that. He said where the question was, should there be something in place legally that would automatically entitle him to something particular because of it? But if we do have the right to civilly sue, then he can take this. He's been proven innocent. And no doubt he could go to an attorney who would consider the case and determine the merits of a civil suit in which they take a value of some kind, they work it, and then they sue for a violation of whatever, or they could look into the rights violations that would have occurred if, for example, a lawyer was derelict in his presentation or lack of presentation of evidence, or if a judge made a poor decision in applying rules of evidence or something. There's I don't know, but he certainly has a case of some kind to put together, and and that entity may very well indeed owe him.
Yeah, I just don't think that there should be like some baseline compensation given, because it's not going to be. It would never be reasonable. I mean, people could sue. Like this guy could say, "I'm going to sue the city for $30 billion." That's not something you'd ever get as a normal payout from anybody. So obviously then that would go and they would do their dealings and go back and forth and probably settle out of court, seal up the documentation so he doesn't ever you know what I mean. Keep everything hush hush. That's pretty normal. So yeah, I wasn't saying that at all. I do believe that he's entitled to some kind of compensation. Who the hell wouldn't, right?
You may be entitled to compensation.
Just call Saul.
Better call Saul.
Better call Saul.
Yeah, I agree. We should have probable cause, and the prosecution needs to prove beyond a reasonable doubt. I wish I knew more about this case to know, did that happen? Did it not happen? What we do know is that DNA evidence has conclusively shown that this dude was just driving through Greenburgh, New York, and got pinched for something he did not do.
That's just messed up. So,
apart from some other detail that is just not in any news story.
Yeah.
This guy's probably got a case on his hands, I would guess.
I would think so.
Yeah, it's a shame, right? Like, and the system, it's impossible to be perfect. It is impossible. We will never have a society in which the police or judges or juries don't get it wrong sometimes. It just won't happen, right? Which again, that does bring me back to when we talked about the death penalty. That in and of itself is a valid argument for why we shouldn't have the death penalty, because
another one.
We never can be 100% sure that we got it right. Like in a way, I think, here's what I think. You rape a girl, you should be killed. That's my personal feeling.
Yeah.
But what would happen if we firing line Leonard Mack in 1976? Well, guess what we just did?
To find out that he was innocent the whole time.
Yeah, right? Man. Can you imagine?
That is so funny that we were discussing that a couple weeks ago or whatever. And I think you and I can both agree we're pretty staunch supporters of the death penalty, or at least at some point. But this kind of argument, once again, like you said, I mean, are we ever 100%? Because is it worth taking 1,000 criminal lives for heinous crimes to find out that one of them was innocent? Would that be worth it? And I can't say it. I'll tell you what, if it was my family member, I would say, hell no, it's not worth it. So if I can say that, then you know what I mean? That would be really hard for me to think that the other 999, that, oh, well, it was worth it, because, it's just, who cares? It's not my family member. It's not my loved one. And all of a sudden, boom, there it is. That is a good argument. Like, that's a little bit scary, actually. I'm starting to, I think
let's not talk about it.
Got to start hugging trees now. I'm not sure what.
I think you should go work for the Innocence Project.
Oh God, right? Oh my gosh. I start wearing like a Rastafarian wig, like it's total white guy braids and stuff like
Yeah.
that, you know? Oh God, it's like start spraying patchouli on myself. Wearing tie-dye shirts. I don't know why would I have to do that? It makes no sense. Oh my God.
All right, so talk to me about this. These people drawing new lines down in the
Yeah,
South.
so this is I think this is a pretty reasonable question. I mean, obviously, we're getting to that time again, right? Like, voting is it's about to happen again, right? And how often do Democrats and Republicans attempt to redraw these congressional lines for voting? It happens all the time. I know that they were working on that in Michigan. Even like I think it's all the time. Whoever holds the power are the ones who are trying to push that level. This is from AP News. .com online edition. Judges reject Alabama's congressional lines, will draw new district to increase black voting power. That sounds a little bit scary, but
Indeed
Montgomery,
it does.
Montgomery, Alabama, federal judges said
Racist.
I know.
If you're a racist, it sounds concerning, Dave.
Yeah. See, exactly. There it is, right? Yeah, I know. Here we go. Dang it. I got to go repent. Federal judges said Tuesday that they will draft. So these are the federal judges, that they will draft new congressional lines for Alabama after lawmakers refused to create a second district where black voters at least came close to compromising a majority as suggested by the court. In blocking the newly drawn congressional map, the 3-judge panel wrote that they are, quote, deeply troubled that Alabama lawmakers flouted their instruction to create a second majority black district or something close to it. The panel directed a court-appointed special master to special master. What a dumbass name. Fuck yourself. To submit 3 proposed new maps by September 25th. Quote, the law requires the creation of an additional district that affords black Alabamians, like everyone else, a fair and reasonable opportunity to elect candidates of their choice. The 2023 plan plainly fails to do so, the judges wrote in the ruling. Alabama indicated in a court filing that it will ask the U.S. Supreme Court, which previously upheld the panel's findings in the case, to put the order on hold while it appeals, according to a court filing. Quote, while we are disappointed in today's decision, we strongly believe that the legislature's map complies with the Voting Rights Act and the recent decision of the U.S. Supreme Court. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall's office said in a statement, the Republican-controlled Alabama legislature hastily drew new lines this summer after the U.S. Supreme Court in June upheld the panel's findings that the map that had 1 majority black district out of 7 in a state where 27% of residents are black likely violated the U.S. Voting Rights Act. The 3-judge panel in striking down Alabama's map in 2022 said the state should have 2 districts where black voters have an opportunity to elect their preferred candidates. Because of racially polarized voting in the state, that map would need to include a second district where black voters are the majority or something quite close, the judges wrote. I'm not sure where to begin or end with this. What do you think about this? I mean, it's a pretty bold quote, but bold statements by this 3-judge panel.
I reject the entire idea that voting districts should have anything whatsoever to do with race. I reject the notion outright.
You are a racist. That's why.
If that makes me a racist, then I might be, actually. If that makes me racist, and I might actually be one.
Well, I can think of a whole bunch of things that make you racist. Bunch of them. That is one of them, Michael. It's insane. The idea, and they're not even ashamed, dude. This is like, they are out there like this, like, I guess I do. You can tell I'm bumfuzzled. I can't speak right now. I'm
bumfuzzled.
I am
That's great.
bumfuzzled.
I don't think I've ever heard that. I'm going to use that.
You should.
I'm
I
going
don't
to.
understand. I am in shock that a 3-judge federal fucking federal judges said, you know what, this voting district isn't black enough. How? What does that mean?
I'm trying to understand.
How is that a thing?
This could be naive of me, but I'm not sure. Is there some sort of like internal like electoral college or something within the state of Alabama that for state legislatures, is this congressional maps, if the US Supreme Court's involved, so is this for US Congress, like those districts, or is this something for just state issues?
No, I don't think it's just state issues. And I guess that kind of brings up a bigger question too, is why all of a sudden are they trying to why all of a sudden was there something set in order for them to do this? You know what I mean? Like the court, I don't know why, but the court had a say and said, this is what the court wants to see of its Alabama voters. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm trying to understand what it does for them. What advantage is there here? I feel like I'm missing something, but I also feel like on its surface, the idea that we would say, oh, we need to have districts that are primarily any race.
Yeah.
And if they're
ridiculous.
if they're not a particular race in a district, we need to redraw the lines until it is. Like that.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we need to vote based on race?
That's actually what they're saying too, Mike. It's not like they're saying
it doesn't make any rational sense.
Yeah, there's a culture. They're not saying anything except for this is a race thing. They are actually making this a race thing. I just don't understand that. I mean, I would love to hear from minorities on this, and I don't care what kind of minority. Meaning, if you ain't white, you're right in this case, because I want to hear about it. You know, I don't know why I just made that up, but what would you say as a minority? How does this make you like? Does this make sense to you? Because maybe it can be explained in a way that I just don't understand. Because clearly, federal scholars, federal judges who are clearly smarter than me are actually putting this thing, like boldly proclaiming that this thing is not black enough. We need this to be more black. And I'm just confused as to how that would make you feel.
I'm looking at an NPR version of this. It says Alabama is once again appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court. A lower court's ruling that found the state's map of congressional election districts likely violates the Voting Rights Act by weakening black voters' power. I don't understand.
Well, I think you know what it is, Mike. This is clearly this tells me a lot about this panel of judges, though, right? The idea is what they think that a majority of blacks in Alabama are going to vote Democrat. That's really what it comes down to. It's really not even about race. Nobody gives a shit about any of that anymore, as long as we can argue about it, right? So in the end, it comes down to a panel of 3 judges who clearly don't know their ass from a hole in the wall. And they're just saying, you know what, this isn't black enough. What they're saying is this isn't Democrat enough, or we don't believe it. Now, I think that it's laughable that blacks have been pigeonholed into Democrat voting only, or at least that's what is that what white America thinks? I don't know. But I thought that I'll be honest with you. I know a black guy, and that guy thinks for himself. Maybe I'm going to throw things all around here. You know, it's weird. I've discovered that people who don't look like me actually have their own like ideas about life and stuff, you know, and it turns out you can't really pigeonhole them. And I've tried. You know,
Buck Chase, he actually, speaking of wrongful convictions, he
oh,
he did
he's
some
been on the run
time
for a little bit. Yeah.
he did some time. You know, thankfully he broke free. That's why he's always in an undisclosed location. But you know, he's been known to have a thing or two to say about race.
Yeah,
not the kind you want to hear either.
Yeah, it messes with me a little bit. It all comes down to party lines again. You know, we are, you know, clearly the whole race thing. It's just pushing buttons, trying to make everybody feel something. I don't want to fall for it. I'm just kind of shocked that it's so brazen now. It's so in your face that there's a panel of federal judges that are saying, no, this isn't black enough. What they're saying is this isn't Democrat enough. You know, the blacks, they'll always vote for Democrat, you know, especially Southern blacks, you know, they'll go the Democrat route, and they clearly don't have a mind of their own. You know, there's just it's a sure thing for us. It is a sure thing for us to get reelected. You know, it's sad, but it's bold. It's right there in your face. It's in how many articles is it in? You could just Google this, a couple of these key phrases or key words, and you're going to get all kinds of news about this situation. And they don't care. God, it's so embarrassing, dude.
Yeah.
What is wrong with us, man?
Yeah, it's just, that's the only thing I can think of, right? Is they redraw the lines so that it's controlled in such a way that the ultimate allocation of electoral votes
goes to one side or the other.
Swayed by what I don't know is in this redistricting, how that would shift the balance of electoral votes. That's what I'm trying to understand, because let's say I don't know how many votes Alabama gets in the electoral college, say for example, but what difference does it make if those things are redrawn for congressional districts as far as the overall voting goes? Or are they talking about, again, forgive me guys, because I actually think the article was poorly written.
It is poorly written.
And I read two of them, both of them, NPR and AP, were both poorly written. It doesn't explain much about the background of this. So what I'm trying to understand is this an issue of representatives? And so they're redrawing the congressional map so that there's a greater likelihood that they're able to choose their candidate by a greater majority based on race. I mean, it only gets worse. It doesn't get better when you explain it that way.
Right. Yeah. Gosh. Yeah. Is this an update to it? Hold on a second. Okay. Hold on to your draws. So this was, no, this is the new one, but yeah, I mean, there's a related article in the AP that the Supreme Court rules in favor of Black Alabama voters in Unexpected Defense of Voting Rights Act. So but this was like in June, so I'm not sure, you know, what's the relation on that either. But yeah, I honestly, Mike, I just don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah.
It's very confusing. You're right. It wasn't written very well. But like, this is the kind of article you got to read like 4 different articles in order to like gather enough information to have a better, you know, more educated guess on how ridiculous
at the end of the
either
day,
way, it's all completely ridiculous.
I circle back to what I said when you first read it, which is like, I don't know if I understand entirely what's going on here, but if they're trying to draw any lines for voting based on race, I reject it outright, and principle alone, right? Yeah. Because it's like,
it's clearly
that is racism.
That's I know they wouldn't think so though. They
That
wouldn't think
doesn't,
so.
it doesn't make any sense because that's racism. Well, of course you'd say that you're white. I don't know. Like that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
Like
I
I don't
know.
know. Whatever.
Yeah, anytime you do something based on a race, well, I mean, you know.
Well, folks, you had it all in an hour. You
Yeah.
had first of all 2 stunningly beautiful bald men.
God,
Which, by the way, Pitbull Shavers needs to give you a commission check for making a sale.
yeah,
last
there was
week.
somebody earlier, right?
Yep. And I got a message this week from Jay Willman. So you're out there and you told me to get it. Splurge, get the Pitbull. You won't regret it. He doesn't. So, you need the credit for your ability to make sales of these shavers. But you got to see our stunningly beautiful bald heads.
Yes.
You got to hear us talk about amazing films and
Crooning.
music.
Yeah.
And
Next time we talk, though, we're going to talk. So actually, I can tell you exactly what my topic is next week, so that people actually have an idea.
Ooh.
Because first of all, we are going to talk the Deer Hunter. Because
okay, I will watch the
think
Deer
that's
Hunter between now and then.
Okay, and then I want to talk about Kinsey's Kids.
Kinsey's Kids.
Mm-hmm.
What's that?
So it's Alfred Kinsey. Let's leave it at that. We're going to talk about Alfred Kinsey. He's a
sexologist,
the father of
sexual
revolution. Yeah.
Can you go to school for that?
Yeah.
Dang.
So we are going to talk about
Why did I do philosophy?
Well, there's a lot of stories about whether this guy really was the father of sexual revolution, or was he the guy who said that raping children is fine. There is so much about this. I really want to talk about this guy, and we'll have to freaking see, dude. I think it's going to be a good podcast, but I think you got to, I don't even know if you should look it up at all, but I feel like there's so much information on him. I'm not sure I could look up all of it, because there's people that call him like the Godfather, and then there's other people are saying like he's the devil. He's, you know what I mean? Like his ideology it's so out there, and it's so like decayed, and it's just so we definitely got to talk about this guy.
Indeed. Yeah, it sounds better than Diarrhea on a Plane.
It might be. Look at Drew. So the case of Pitbulls in the local skinhead chapter. Thank you, Dave. I like how Drew's become like a traveling Pitbull shaver salesman.
He's going door to door, opening his briefcase, capitalizing on lonely housewives eager to make purchases with their husband's hard-spent sales money.
It's like John Candy. Was it Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, where he sells shower curtain rings?
I remember my hands between 2 pillows. Those aren't 2 pillows. Him and Steve Martin in bed.
I just love that. That was a great movie.
What a classic movie when things were funny, man.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, thank you guys for joining us. If you enjoyed the show, go to Apple Podcasts, hit the rating and give it a good rating. Type a review out.
Do it.
Go to Spotify, hit the follow button, give it a rating, show the love.
Do it.
We even though we have 78% of Delta's workforce listening to this show, we still care about you.
Yeah, we still care about you.
So if we gave value to you, show the love. We appreciate
even though you guys are like the Southwest people, Southwest Airlines equivalent. We still
don't make us downgrade you to Spirit. All right. All right, gang. We will see you next time.
Peace.